I can add whatever modules, framework, or driver modules I need in that thread. I can add it to the thread. At the same time, you can also select objects. So each thread can have objects like semaphores and effects and queues. And so if you need those, you can add those in the system, in the objects pane over here. So this is how you build your real-time operating system with the HAL common as a foundation, and then the various threads with whatever SSD drivers and framework modules you need in there. Yes?
Module code that I develop that has to be in the SSD deployer
So if you have your own code, I'm sorry. So yeah, the question was, what if I have what my own code? Can I also use the configurator to bring that in? And I believe the question is no, because it's not conforming to, it doesn't have the same format as our SSD mod. Well, if you're a third party and you're developing an add-on, right, then that would be part of the SSP. If you're writing some code that will live outside of the SSP environment, then it would not be part of this. Do you want to? You could put in an SSP so that other people within the company could use it. Here, John's going to
take a stab at this. Yes, I mean, it's definitely something we considered as part of the architecture. As we're moving forward with this, that is definitely the plan, is to put the tools in place so that, as we said, all these are is standard ARM census paths. Okay, so to get them into the configurator, there's an additional component, this XML configuration file that is where these properties dialogues are all populated from. And, definitely we've got a plan that third parties will be able to put their own in, as well as customers to get their own in. The entire architecture is based on this. We do want community support for this. We do want you to be able to pull your stuff in. We're looking at ways, we might be looking at a couple different levels of this. One where you're able to kind of do some simple things within the ISV, and then there might be, the way we do it right now is a bit more of a hand manipulation of information of that. But the short answer is, at the moment, it's possible because we do it ourselves. It's not real pretty. We're quickly working to get that so all the third parties understand it, and we definitely have it on the roadmap to make that more friendly for everyone to pull stuff into the platform. That's the whole point of the SSP.
Right. Okay. That was John Ravenberg, our principal engineer from our Durham office. Help me out. Yeah, another one.
How do I set priorities, and how do I tell it to use my entry function for the thread?
Yes, very good. So how do I use, it goes on mic, right? Okay. So the next step in this thread module, this is a great segue, is actually the configuration portion. So right now you're pulling in modules, but then each of these elements that we talked about, threads, modules, objects, they can also be configured just the same way as I showed you earlier with the DSP configurator. So if you highlight a certain module, thread, or object in these panes, then what happens is in the properties view, the properties of this particular object, whatever it is, show up, and you're able to view the current configuration, and you're able to change it. You're able to modify it, and that's how you configure the drivers, that's how you configure the framework, that's how you configure the thread. So you would set your thread priority and all that. If I click the thread and I look at the properties, then you have the name there and the properties and everything of that particular thread, and that's how you configure whatever object it is. So in this case, for example, I'm highlighting the HQC driver, and I see the properties down here, and I'll be able to, just before I go in and change the properties, and it would then, so the configurations you make here, those all make changes to the configuration header files that are part of the SSP. And when you regenerate, I'll show you that later, when you regenerate the project content, then those header files get updated. And when the module actually runs, then it reads the header file and knows how it's supposed to run. That's the whole concept, yes.
You won't be able to do that. You go regenerate something in your own code header file to the rate that you created the trash. Going on your part.
Okay, so two questions. One, the first question was, what's the first question? Dependencies, thank you. So yeah, dependencies, so we do have that built in. We have constraints to dependencies. So, great segue again. So if you bring in a module, and it requires something else, another module, or it requires some interrupts to be set, then you will get a little bit X here, and you get a little X over here, and as well as in the problems view, and it'll say, I need this, I need that to work properly, and you can go and do it. Now, the question might be, if you guys already know I'm needing that module, why don't you just enable it automatically? But if you attend the Brandon's presentation, at a certain level, there might be different options underneath which one you want to take. You want to use the HQC from the SPI, or you want it from the SCI, or you want the dedicated. So there's multiple options underneath, so we can't always answer that. We can't always make that decision for you.
We'll show you those options right here that there's a problem with. We'll show you those options that you have the MC choices, basically.
Well, it'll say, I need, if you have a framework, it'll say I need a timer driver, but it could be which way you want to implement that. So sometimes there's and if the dependency is satisfied, then the error will go away.
And the other quick question was, so I was checking on regenerate code. Let's say we change it. Does it overwrite the comment for your custom code? Use that again there.
So that's a very good question. Very good question. Did you get one right? So the question was, John McElroy, so basically anything that is SSP or SSP configured header files, those you're not supposed to edit, because as soon as you hit generate project content or you build it, it gets re-extracted from the pack, and so you can have a clean build. There's certain files in which you can make modifications, like there's some entry files into the HAL entry or into the threads. There you can make your own modifications, or you have your own code and it will stay. But those in the SSP user manual will tell you exactly which files those are that you can edit. Everything else is getting re-extracted. Now there's a source folder in there as well. That is completely yours. So there's not the source folder, anything you put there is your own code, and that will not get overwritten. Yeah, there's another question, John.
If I have a...
John, do you want to...
Hold on that. If SSP is in the primary path, don't touch it. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, that's everything that you can touch doesn't have SSP in the primary path, period. And we did make sure you had entry points for anything you needed to access to. So just be aware of that. Okay.
All right.
One of the changes to existing module out of private, then you want to copy it out of the SSP.
Right. And we have an app node that we have prepared or are preparing. It's already up there. So if you what I do is I want to customize the driver. I want to make it my own. Then you basically follow the app node to show you how to do it.
If I have I2C driver and if I need to access it from two different threads, because I have two chips on I2C bus, temperature and accelerometer, for example, can I add modules to both the threads? And the second question is, if I can do that, how do I make sure it's thread-fit?
John, you want to take that one too? That goes more into the...
All right, so just so I understand the comment, so you've got a bus with two devices on it, two devices on the Iceberg C. Is that what you're describing? Okay. And actually the answer is yes, we do accommodate that. So there's some separations on that. And if you're in Brandon's prior presentation, you would have seen that. What we do is we have the concept of the peripheral interfaces, devices sitting on the bus, so that you can share the bus among multiple devices, and all of the SSB code is thread safe. So I mean, the first assumption is, you're going to use the modules intact. If you're running the problems, let us know. Because obviously if you're running into a problem, other people are going to run into a problem. But the intention is, yes, we've got that covered, and yes, we do accommodate multiple devices on the same bus. So the point is, when you add a bus, it actually shows up under the HAL common. And then you get, and that's one of the things we've done. If you go back far enough, if you've seen some of the earlier versions of this, those buses did kind of show up in random places. Now when they show up under the HAL common. And that's one of the purposes of the common, is to collect those common features.
All right. Good. All right, let's continue. So the last configurator here is the ICU configurator. So that shows you all the interrupts from the ICU, and you can see the list of interrupts, and you can click over here and assign it a priority, and that will be assigned to that particular interrupt. Now we made it a little easier to do the interrupts because what you see more and more is actually the interrupts that are required for certain modules also show up here also in the properties. You can set them here right here directly. So that's showing up more and more. And then you actually don't need to go over to the ICU and select them there. So that's making it easier. So the last tab in that project editor is the components tab. And basically the reason we put this all in the end is because you can use it as a quick reference to see which kind of modules are pulled into your project. So any of these components that are tick marked, those are currently part of your project. You can see which version of SSP they belong to. But essentially, you can just use it to verify, because as soon as you on the threads tab, if you add a module or a driver to a thread or to the HAL common, it will automatically get ticked here. So you don't need to go both places. But this gives you a good overview of what's currently in your project. Okay, so after you came to the project editor, you made some modifications or configurations. If you want to rebuild or you want to see what happened, you click on the project generate project content button that's in the corner on every tab, and essentially that will regenerate, re-extract, and reconfigure the project. And here you started probably in Brandon's presentation earlier, so your project explorer pane or view. This is your source folder. Essentially, there's also some Synergy generated stuff here, which is related to your threads and your HAL. So in here you can make in the HAL entry and new thread entry, you can have your own user code. So that gets regenerated, and then this is the SSP folder under the new Synergy folder, that basically whatever BSD driver or framework module or driver you brought into your project, this is where the sources will live. But again, like John said, it has SSP in the past, so don't touch it, because whenever...
I was just going to make that comment, actually, because you actually have up to 1.0 stuff here versus what you're seeing here. So I will retract my statement or modify it slightly versus the SSP. Anything with Synergy in tab, which is don't touch that.
Right. Yep. And then basically, the last section is those are the configured header files. So, for example, whenever you made a change to the pin configurator, this header file changes. If you change the clock setting, this header file changes. So, these are all the header files on the BSP, driver, and framework levels that configure all the modules. So it's pretty clear and pretty. It gets pretty intuitive once you start working with it. Just want to highlight 3 other files that are part of your project. One is the configuration.xml. This is essentially the project editor. So if you actually open, or if you open a new project that already exists in your workspace and you want to bring up that editor, you double click on the configuration.xml that brings up your editor with all the configurators. This is just a debug session, and the .config actually holds all your pin configurations that you made. So those are saved in the .config file.
So just one quick comment. I kind of brought this up, Axel, and it goes back to your earlier question of how do I add my stuff to the whole system.
Right.
I mean, just so you understand, part of the reason why we made this directory structure change was from it used to be just SSD config, now it's Synergy config, SSD config, and the reason is the Renaissance IoT SSD level for the third parties, for users to put their own stuff in. So I mean, it is definitely the infrastructure's laid down. We're working on getting it cleaned up as far as making sure everybody can add their stuff, because we definitely want to keep this as an open platform.
All right.
Directory change and stuff. We have to use Subversion, a lot of people do. And you're going to maybe come up with an app note that tells us which files we need to include in Subversion so we can save the whole project and say every user can pull it down and working on the latest version stuff. In fact, always, I mean, with IR, it's beautiful, just 2 files you have to save with Eclipse for no counting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, something we need to do. Okay, good. All right. Okay, good. So we're coming close to the end here. Just want to show you that smart manual. So when you this is an older version of the open call, but essentially if you're in the code and you're hovering over an API call to DSP, then the smart menu will pop up and it'll give you additional information about that API, about that call. So you'll have the name, the port size, the parameters, and more information about this particular driver. We mentioned IR earlier, so just want to give you some hints. If you want to use IR, what you need to do out of the box. So first of all, you do need to have installation of your workbench for ARM, because that's where the IR compiler doesn't really. And
a quick question about your smart documentation. Is that something we can add to our own functions and stuff like that? So it will pop up when other developers need to call our own functions.
Well, the Eclipse editor has a variety of hover functionality. So if you that'll be easier to do on that. The smart menu, the way it's created, is a very specific way, and I don't think you'll be able to use that exact functionality, but you might be able to use a different kind of hover function that's built into the Eclipse editor. Okay, so IR. So you need to have the IR embedded workbench installed, and the IR compiler, because that's all one package from IR. And you also need to, if you want to do that, make sure to, under Help, run the IR embedded workbench ARM plugin manager. Because before you can actually make that connection to IR, you need to have that plugin installed, otherwise it's not going to work. So you run the plugin manager comes up, and you select the ARM target, and then basically you install the plugin that matches your version of the IR tools that you have. And after you do that, then when you create a new project, you'll be able to pick IR from the list. Yeah, install that plugin, okay? I just want to spend a couple minutes going through some other debug features that are part of eSport Studio that are not necessarily Synergy specific, but that make eSport Studio a good environment. Well, before I actually go there, I mentioned earlier that the various things we put in there for process aware debugging. So you have several, you have a plugin in there that gives you information about the status of your operating system, your threads, whether they're suspended, what priority is, and so forth. So you get to that if you open the Partner OS view under the Renaissance views. You go to Artist Resources, that'll bring up those views. Then I also mentioned TraceX. So TraceX is a separate executable from separate tools from Express Logic. Usually you have to pay extra for that, but for Synergy users, we have licenses. We have TraceX up on the gallery also for download, and you're able to synchronize or invoke TraceX from within eSport Studio and pass data over to it, so you can analyze what's going on in your real-time system. So this is a very useful tool that I encourage you to use. No, you don't need a different debugger. So it's basically, eSport Studio will have a buffer, and when you want, you pass the buffer over to TraceX and it'll visualize everything. So that has nothing to do with that doesn't go through the JTAG at all. There's an image viewer. The image is stored in memory. You will see it in your window. There's a waveform viewer, same thing. If there's a waveform stored in memory, you see that as a waveform. You have real-time expression views in here, so while your target's running, you you can see the value changing. We have also these real-time visual expression views in eSport Studio, so you can put some gauges or sliders or meters in there, and essentially if the variables change, you can graphically see them change while the target is running in real time. You can also choose to graph these certain variables. You can see how the value is changing over time while the target is running. Memory usage view gives you a good overview of how much RAM, how much ROM do I have left in my project. You know, am I getting close to hitting the ceiling? And so those are just some nice features in eSport Studio that are available for other targets. So just to give you a quick highlight. Okay, so about to wrap up the session. Things we looked at is ISDE, how does it fit into the platform, the various components of the ISDE. We looked at the project generator, quick way to generate a new Synergy project, and then we talked at length about the project editor and the various configurators that are in there, the pins, the clocks, the RTOS threads, for the ICU, for the DSP, and what happens when you generate the project content. We saw the updated file structure, and again, like John said, in the labs, you're using a slightly older version of the SSD that has a slightly different structure. This already showed you the version 1.00 data that's currently on the gallery. So just be aware that there's slight difference there. What's in your lab, what you're using in the labs, and what's coming down from the gallery. Yes, real quick.
So some of these waveforms that you're showing me, it looks like you're getting supposed to be able to emulate your application without hardware. Is that something that?
No, that's not.
Is there something in the future maybe that if I do an application or if I have some sort of implementation that developers don't need a hardware?
No, we're not really playing with the simulator. This is just really showing you if you have something in memory that looks like a window that shows you what it looks like. It's not, we're not playing any simulator. Okay. Alright, so what I encourage you to do is if you haven't signed up for it today, but there's these design journey labs that go through the design flow. There's 3 separate labs that deal with how to create a project with Synergy, and obviously the ISDE is part of those labs. So if you're signed up, you're lucky. If not, you have to maybe hope that somebody drops out. What anyone can do is just go and get it. The Galaxy is up live. The gallery is synergygallery.randos.com. You can grab the ISDE, download and install it. You can grab the SSD, download and install it. And I told you earlier, only a few of those project templates come with SSD, but we have additional project template application installers up there so that you can expand your application templates. And then the organ studies already, the development kits and the project examples, I don't think they're currently just yet at the distributors, but they should be, keep checking on TGT or Avnet or Future, those guys, Arrow, they will have those kits in stock very, very shortly. And just when you get all the material in the appendix, I have another few slides of the workflow of what we went through in the project flow. Okay, almost out of time. One more question, and now I'll be around for a week. One more question.
Yes, Renesys supports troubleshooting on ISDE. If I go into Eclipse and accidentally change from configuration parameter, it no longer works.
Well, a lot of these have restore to default buttons. I didn't mention that, but for example, the clock configurator, there's a button called restore default, so you can enter it.
I'm more talking about Eclipse. All of the configuration and fixture debugger work with your compiler is all available to you to get this done.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we have a help desk. You can send us a ticket.
You support it.
Yeah, we do support it. Yes. Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.